Hi everybody, sanibonani. Welcome to my channel. Gama lami nguNtando Mdletshe, and on this channel siyazifunde iy'ncwadi ebhalwe ngolimi lwethu lwesiZulu bese siza la sizokhuluma ngazo le ndaba esuke siyifundile siyixoxela laba phela abangenaso isikhathi sokuthi bay'funde iy'ncwadi nalaba futhi abasuke benqena nje ukufunda. Siyaphinda futhi sibuka ama-reality shows ethu ala eMzansi bese siza la sizokhuluma ngawo lama-reality shows, senze ama-reviews or ama-recaps, siphinde futhi sikhulume nga-any other issues avukayo uma ngabe lama shows sesiwabukile kwi-TV. Namhlanje-ke ngifuna sikhulume nge-Real Housewives of Durban season 2. In the last episode, which was episode 6, sitholile ukuthi they are going on a girls trip. Guys, we already know thina sibukayo ema-Real Housewives ukuthi i-trip it's a must. You don't go through a season without a trip because a trip brings so much for the season. If they don't do a trip, iyabhoranyana ilokhuzana i-season. The reason for it is because i-trip ibafake in a different environment. They're not in the comfort of their own homes, and iyabaforce ukuthi spend some time together. So they always get to talk about things that they don't talk about. Uma besuke bengekho on a trip, they get to do things that they don't normally get to do. And even if you don't like a person, if one housewife doesn't like another housewife, but they are forced to spend time together, and sometimes that leads to confrontations, that leads to drama. And as much as we can deny it, we know what our reality shows are made by drama vele. So that's all that the producers are trying to do when they do a girls trip, is because they are trying to create drama so that we have enough content to talk about at the reunion. So now we all know what we are going to be pretending that the trip is being planned by Ulondi London, when we all know what Ulondi are planning anything. The producers have planned, they've booked the place, everything, we know. But we will pretend what Ulondi is going to be the host for the trip. I went and I searched because I didn't know this Nambiti place. There's a place called Nambiti Game Reserve, and the name is similar to what they said. But-ke ngenkathi uLondi London ekhuluma ngayo akashongo ukuthi kuphi, and I tried to find ukuthi lapho khona enye indawo enegama elifanayo yini, and I couldn't find it. So there is a possibility that this Nambiti Game Reserve is where they are going, the women. It's here in KZN, Ladysmith. I looked at the place. It's a really nice place, guys. But I think what it's a nice place if mina njenguNtando with my friends are going on a vacation, and we can go to Ilokhuzana Nambiti. Is it glamorous enough for these housewives? I didn't think so. They really have nice rooms. It's an interesting place. But for this particular group of women, I don't know if it's going to be fitting for them, because obviously if I go on a vacation, I want to go to a place that looks nicer than my own house. You know what I mean? So for these women, the houses that they stay in, you know what I mean? So I don't know. I was looking at those rooms and I was like, it's really nice rooms, but does it meet the standard of the Real Housewives? I'm not sure about it. So we could expect to have some issues when it comes to choosing the rooms. Are they going to be happy with ama rooms abazo allocate one? So that's why today I decided I want to talk about what are the things that we need to expect when it comes to this girls trip. Girls trip is nine. If it's a really good girls trip with the Real Housewives standards, what should we expect from it? Number one of the things that always bring up issues when it comes to the housewives traveling together is transportation. Because normally when they travel somewhere, if they're flying somewhere, they will usually take maybe common transport to get to the airport, or they will need to be at the airport at the same time. But obviously, this time they are local, so they're not going to be flying nowhere unless they maybe go with a helicopter. I don't know. So they probably are going to be driving to Ladysmith. And there's always some arrangements that are made to who is driving with who. Even if they're not driving themselves, whatever transport they're using, they always make arrangements to Uban who's going to be in that car with whoever. And that setup is always about how much drama can we get from the road trip, So they're probably not going to put Ulachoncho with Ulondi London, because if they put Ulachoncho with Ulondi London, we're just gonna get like fun stuff. They're gonna be joking all the way. Bas bafike laphayana. They're gonna try and put Ulachoncho maybe with the Makuman. You know what I mean? So if they really wanna create something good for us, like good content for us, they are probably going to put Ulachoncho with Umakumalo in the car and see how maybe just put Usorisha there to make peace so that they don't kill each other. If these producers are good, they are going to do that. I think with if I was a producer, I was probably going to put Unonku with Ulondi London in the same car for that road trip, because then by the time they get to Unambiti, it's either they have resolved their issue from last episode or they're fighting even more. But by the time they get to the game reserve, they would have created enough content for the next episode. But I don't know what the thinking is going to be when it comes to the producers. But if I was producing this show, that's what I would do. Which housewives have the most to resolve? Which housewives have the most to discuss? Which housewives have the most tension? Those are the housewives that I would put together when it comes to the road trip, because the housewives is not for us to create fun. It's not for that. It is for them to create content. So I will be looking at ukuthi ubani engingammixa with who, so that I can get the best content. So there is one of the things that happens normally when it comes to transportation, going on a trip with Real Housewives. There's also always issues about somebody being late. With Uma Kumalo, I'm a producer, because I really don't think that it's her intention to be late. I think she's giving the wrong time every time there's an event. I'm a producer, they tell her the incorrect time to show up for a scene, because they just want her to appear to be late all the time. So I suspect that even for the trip, they might even leave her behind alandele after, because she's late, and then it's gonna be an issue when you are always late anyway to every event that we go to. I suspect that these producers might do that to her, because it seems like they want her to appear as somebody that comes late all the time. So we might have that as well. And then if they get there at the trip, we might have an issue with room allocations. We always, with Real Housewives, guys, even Real Housewives of Joburg, when they went to Cape Town, I think there was an issue with room allocation. There was a wife that didn't have a room and they needed to share, and the houses were like, I don't share with anybody. So I don't know if they'll share rooms too, and how they were going to allocate those rooms. Ulundi London doesn't seem messy. It doesn't seem she doesn't seem messy in a sense that she wouldn't intentionally mix up people that don't get along on a trip if they have to share a room, for an example. But I also feel like she's weak when it comes to identifying when she's being set up by the producers. And I saw that in this last episode when she took the bait, yokuthi akhulume about Nonku's alcohol problem, when she doesn't even know Nonku that well. So I feel like she might take the bait as well on this trip. If she is the one as the host that is allocating the room, she might be told, you know what, put this person and this person together so that we can have them talk about a certain issue that maybe they don't even want to talk about. So I don't trust that she will have peace in mind when allocating the rooms. And also, as well, there's a possibility that she might not even be the one that's allocating the room. She might be giving a list and say, this is how people are going to stay. So you're going to tell them this is how they're going to stay. But if we think about it, the most peaceful way of allocating the rooms is that everybody gets their own room. That's like the best part. It's just everybody gets their own rooms, then we don't have any conflicts. But if we don't get conflicts, then we don't get ilokuzani content on Real Housewives. Here's the thing about ama lokuzana, ama lodges, and all of these places is vagashelwayo. Ama rooms, they're never the same. There's always this one big best room, and then there's the next best room, and then the next best room. It always looks that way. It's never like the same, all of the rooms the same. So we might have an issue where people are thinking that their rooms are not as bad, and there's always that one room that has two single beds, or that has bunk beds. The, always wherever you go, there's a room that is like the main room with the faintest room, and then there's that room that has two single beds or bunk beds. So who's gonna be allocated where, and who's gonna make that decision on where to put who? And if they want the most drama, they're going to take Unonku and put her in the bunk beds, and then they're going to get the best content that they have ever got because she's probably going to fight everybody. But if they take Uma Kumalo, for an example, and put her on the bunk beds, they're not going to get any content because Uma Kumalo is going to be, guys, I'm okay. No, I can sleep here. You know what I mean? So I'm sure there is strategies that they're going to use when it comes to these things that, we might just think, it's just rooms, and they're just going to tell them where they sleep and they're going to go to sleep. It's going to be more than that. So another thing is the activities. What they normally do when it comes to activities with Real Housewives is that because the group is big and they like to separate them. Instead of saying we're going quad biking, all of us, sometimes they'll say, okay, there's a group, guys, who wants to go quad biking and who wants to go for a massage? And then you'll find 3 women go and do one activity and 3 women go to one activity. The thing about it is that this is only a 2-day trip. So they need to get as much content from the trip as possible. So I think it might be a good idea to separate, to use that strategy to separate them. Because if you separate them and they go for massages and the massages are all peaceful and there's not much content there, maybe the quad biking might be, maybe the bungee jumping. I don't know the activities that they do in that game reserve. So we might get that where they don't get to spend all of their time or do all of the activities, all of them together. Another thing is, even during those activities, the way that they will separate them strategically to make sure that they get the best out of the trip. And then obviously they're going to find a way to address certain issues that we know are existing within Ilokuzanu season 2. Number one is, I know that somebody's going to ask about Latonto's boyfriend. Are you really dating somebody or you're just playing with us? I know they have to address that issue. And then there's Noku's drinking. Somebody's going to talk about Noku's drinking. If it's not Noku herself, somebody else is going to talk about it. And Makumalo leaving and coming early, somebody's going to mention that if she's even coming to the trip, because she might not come, if she's coming to the trip, somebody's going to be asking, "What's girl? You're always showing up late. What's happening?" And, if she wants to give us content, she might say, "Ushusho yini wena ngokuthi ngifika late." But then, knowing Makumalo, she's probably not going to give us that. And then there's gonna be that thing between George and Nononku because we don't know, we're not sure about where they stand with their friendship. And Jojo has said, listen, there's a part of Nonku that I really like, but then the rest of her is like, I'm confused about it, so I don't know where we stand. So on this trip, I think that we're going to find out more on whether they are going to move ahead and become friends or they're just going to let it go. Let it go. It worries me because I feel like Unoko is not being able to maintain friendships right now. And I hope Jojo, whatever she does with this friendship, she's not being influenced by Eni and Ulondi in making her decision about having a friendship with Unoko. That she makes that decision based on what she feels and what she thinks about Unoko and Unoko's behavior. And then Sorisha, I think Sorisha is just gonna be there, like being a peacemaker, like because honestly, what else does Sorisha do? What else does Sorisha do, guys? Unless really something drastic comes up about Sorisha, maybe about her marriage, maybe about her family. I don't know. But Sorisha is just always flowing around and being a peacemaker. I don't know if that position for Sorisha is sustainable to bring her to another season. Because you can only be a peacemaker for so long. We need something else. We just need some storyline to watch when it comes to Sorisha. So I think in this trip, honestly, I expected to just be there as a peacemaker, to just be there to get along with everybody and agree with everybody. And then she's gonna come back from the trip. But you know what would be really interesting in this trip? The most interesting thing about this trip is if the queen shows up. I so want the queen to show up because I think that will be the best. I think if all of these strategies fail for them and they're not able to use them to create content, they must just go and fetch the queen, and the queen must just show up on the last day on the trip, and that will just be enough content for us. But yeah, guys, those are the things that we're going to expect at least that I expect to see when it comes to Real Housewives on the girls' trip. And I saw what the next week we are watching an episode that is going to where we are going to see the girls on the trip. So I'm excited about it. I don't know what you guys feel about it. What do you expect to see kule trip, Lena? Do you think they're going to create enough exciting content for us on this trip? And yeah, please like the video before you pull Megiona and share it with your friends, with your family, and even with strangers. Nginithanda kakhulu.